Former renters are regretting becoming homeowners.
Oh my God.
A recent survey that was done by Real Estate Witch showed that 28% of homeowners want to go back to renting. Why? Because they didn't anticipate how expensive homeownership was going to be. And let me tell you, owning a home costs way more than just paying that mortgage payment. I'm going to share in this video this survey that was done for new homeowners by Real Estate Witch, and they also break down the actual cost of a homeownership today. I'm also going to share with you some stories of some renters who became homeowners and then are totally regretting it. I'm going to share with you what their experiences have been. And of course, I'm going to give my opinion. I'm going to give you some advice, what you can do to avoid becoming house poor. And look, I'm not trying to scare you out of buying a home. I'm here to give you good information to help you make good decisions so you are prepared for these costs and you won't be regretting owning a home and want to become a renter again. This survey by Real Estate Witch was done back in March, so it's just a few months ago. And it has some pretty interesting data in it. The biggest statistic that jumped out at me was this one. They called it renter envy. 28% of homeowners would consider going back to renting. They also found that nearly half of homeowners, 49%, found that they're spending more money owning a home than they are renting. Well, that's a given. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. The other stats that they shared, 42% of homeowners think it's just easier to rent. 41% feel that renting is just generally less expensive than owning a home. 34% of homeowners envy renters because they don't have to pay for the upkeep and maintenance of the property. About 9 in 10 homeowners say that the true cost of owning a home is way more than what they anticipated. Yeah, I mean, it's a given. Owning a home is going to be more expensive than renting one for sure, because you don't have to pay the maintenance and the repairs. The landlord's paying for that. And look, people have said over the years, for many years now, that renting a home, while you're renting, you're throwing money out the window, you're paying the landlord's mortgage. It does have some benefits. But listen, owning a home, is it expensive? Yes, but you do own your own property. You're building equity and you're building generational wealth as well. But the problem here, it seems that people are not fully educated or prepared when they're going into home ownership. People thinking that they're pre-approved for that mortgage. They know they can afford that mortgage payment, but they're not taking into account all the other expenses that go along with it. So let's get into those expenses. Real Estate Witch found that homeowners spend about $18,000 a year on non-mortgage expenses. They didn't look at the mortgage payment, which is principal and interest, $18,000 a year on top of that on non-mortgage expenses. So let's break that down. So the average homeowner spends on the following items here. Utilities, they're spending on average $5,362 a year. That's actually 77% higher than what a renter spends on utilities. Yeah, that's a big difference. For maintenance and repairs, homeowners are spending on average $4,392 a year. Now, this little stat really disturbed me. They found that 1 in 5 homeowners struggled to afford maintenance so much that they couldn't even afford a $500 repair, that they had to put it on their credit card. Oh boy, I'm going to get into that later, what we should be doing to prepare for that. For renovations, homeowners are spending on average $3,784 a year. They also said that 25% of homeowners that started a renovation project knew that they couldn't afford it. Why are we doing that? Now, for property taxes, on average, homeowners are spending $2,904. Now, here's another stat. 59% of homeowners said that their property tax assessment has risen significantly since they purchased their home. As we all know, this has become a big problem in this country, where property taxes are rising because of the increase in home values. I'm going to go into that a little bit later on. I'll go into more detail about that. For homeowners insurance, homeowners are spending an average of $1,516. And now look, we all know the nightmare about the rising homeowners insurance cost. I mean, that's an average. I'm hearing people paying a lot more than that in other parts of the country. Getting back to that statistic that 9 in 10 homeowners say that homeownership is more expensive than they anticipated, there were specific costs that they were referring to that were much higher than what they had thought it was going to be. Now, I'm going to just touch on a handful of these. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but the number one cost was property taxes. 35% of homeowners did not anticipate their property taxes being more than what they thought it was going to be. Roof work, 27% of homeowners did not realize how expensive roof work was going to be. Oh my gosh. Renovations is another one. 27% of homeowners did not anticipate renovations to be as expensive as it was going to be. And those big ticket items like HVAC and plumbing, about 26% of people did not know exactly how expensive those items were going to be. Now, in this research, I did find stories from renters who became homeowners that regret becoming homeowners, and they shared some of their experiences as to what their biggest regrets were. I found this on that website, BuzzFeed, and some of these stories, it all ties into what these statistics are showing from Real Estate Witch. So listen to some of these stories. Moving from apartment renters to house owners, we were totally unprepared for the additional costs beyond mortgage payments and property tax. On paper, those were about what we were paying in rent, so we thought it would be doable to own. But upkeep, unplanned repairs, heating, and electricity, it adds up. And now we're so house poor. Our quality of life has gone down so much. I still don't know if it was the right call. I guess time will tell. That hurts me a lot to read that. It really does. They really needed to do their due diligence before going into a home. That pains me to read that. The next story, I never wanted to buy a house. My in-laws pushed the issue and my wife insisted. Okay, that's a whole other problem you're dealing with if your in-laws are pushing that, but I digress. This year, she finally realized why I wanted to continue renting. The plumbing on the side of the house busted and cost $5,000 to fix. 3 weeks later, a pipe under the house busted. Insurance refused to cover that, and it cost us $20,000 to fix. 2 months later, in the middle of Houston, with above 100-degree temperatures, the AC went out. We spent $9,000 to replace that. I calculated how much we have spent on this house, and financially, we would have been better off renting. That kills me. Those poor guys. Those poor people. Now, here's one about new construction. When we bought a new construction home, I had no clue about taxes, escrow, or any of it. The first year we were there, the taxes were based on essentially empty lots, and so our mortgage payment was very affordable. The second year, property taxes went way up because there were homes there now, and we didn't have nearly enough in escrow, so our mortgage payment had to increase to make up for the deficiency and ensure there'd be enough for year 3. It essentially doubled, and if we didn't have savings, we wouldn't have made it. Okay, I just got to add a comment to this. Your title person or your mortgage person, somebody should have explained that to you. To base your mortgage payment off of like no established taxes yet. Oh my gosh, so irresponsible. Why did they do that? I recently bought, in the last 3 years, we bought a new construction home that we ended up renting out. And the day of closing, our taxes were next to nothing, but our title attorney told us no, your taxes are going to go up to say $2,000 next year, and it'll be $3,000 the following year. He had the schedule broken out for us. Why weren't these people told about that? That bothers me. How did that happen? That was so irresponsible. So here's another story about maintaining a home and not only the cost of it, but the aggravation and the time it takes to maintain it. Being a long-term renter in the Northeast, I never really thought about the havoc that winter wreaks on a home. Clearly, I took a lot of my landlord's regular maintenance for granted because I'm sick of what I now have to do each winter to prevent my pipes from freezing up and potentially bursting. New heat tape and insulation every year, draining all the pipes if we ever have to take a weekend trip in freezing weather. And every time we see our temps hit 0 degrees or below, he's in upstate New York, I'm hit with a wave of anxiety that our pipes will somehow manage to burst, costing us thousands of dollars in repairs. So far, I miss the peace of mind that came with renting, especially when winter rolls around. I bet you do miss that. I would miss it too. Oh my gosh, reading that just stresses me out. And the last one here, I have owned my house since 2018, and every year I've had a big ticket expense, replacing the hot water heater, mitigating kitchen mold, fixing the second floor bathroom leak, replacing the electrical box, and replacing the refrigerator. It is never ending, and you have to address the issues as they come up. Look, I get it. There are some unexpected things that come up. It may have looked fine when you're doing your inspection right before you own the home. I guarantee you things will break. Something's going to happen after you move into your home. It just happens. And I think people don't imagine that ever happening to them. I want to share my thoughts about these stories and also earlier what we talked about with the unexpected cost or how expensive some of these costs were going to be when people bought their homes. The first thing I want to address are the property taxes. This is becoming an issue right now. And what I will tell you is that you need to find out from the town, county, municipality, wherever you're buying your home, you need to find out when the assessment cycles are. The town municipalities are going to reassess your property, say every year, every 3 years, every 5 years. You need to find that out. This is becoming a big problem nowadays with people purchasing homes and then the property taxes are skyrocketing. Remember, these home values have like risen astronomically. So now those new values, those taxes are going to be based on the new values. And that's why these taxes are going up. So when you're buying a home, I highly recommend you check in with that local municipality or town, find out how often are they reassessing and just make sure you're prepared for that. If you need to have some extra money on the side to make up, to put in escrow, to pay for those taxes, be prepared for that and just find out when the assessment cycles take place. Now let's talk about the maintenance costs. Oh my gosh, the maintenance costs. Okay, so I have been saying this a lot lately on my videos. You need to have an emergency fund. And I mean, have an emergency fund before you even go look at a house. You want to have your down payment saved, you want to have your closing costs saved. You need 3 to 6 months of your income saved in an emergency fund because I guarantee you something will break shortly after you move in and you need to be prepared for that. That statistic where they mentioned that the number of people who cannot afford a repair, a $500 repair, and now they're putting it on their credit card, that's a big problem. You don't want to be part of that statistic. You want to be able to have the money to be able to cover those costs. So please take the extra time. I know you want to buy a house now, you want to get into something. Please don't do anything until you have your emergency fund saved up. I'm speaking from experience too. The very first house my husband and I bought, we went out and bought furniture right away. I'm thinking, okay, this is great. We have money, but then we spent it on furniture. We were down next to nothing in our bank account. Thank God nothing major happened, but we were scrambling for several months there to rebuild that savings account in case something did go. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You don't want to do that at all. Just trust me on this one. Make sure you have that emergency fund saved before you even consider purchasing a home. And let's talk about the renovations. Now, people feel as soon as they move into a house, they want to make it their own. And I totally support that. But try not to think about renovating anything big like your kitchen, your bathrooms, tearing walls down. Try not to do that for at least a few years. Look, I've been in my house now for 12 years. I didn't do any renovations till we were in here for 7 years. Yes, 7 years. And then we just renovated some bathrooms. And then eventually we put a patio in. And then we put in hardwood floors. And it wasn't all at once. It was, every year we started making these changes. But do not go in thinking you're going to do a major renovation. This is what I tell my buyer clients. Now I'm telling you, my audience, if the kitchen is functional, it's clean, appliances are okay. It's ugly, okay. You're going to have to live with that for a little bit. If you have avocado green countertops, so you can live with it for a few years. Because what's happening with a lot of people who they're going into these renovations, they're going by what they're quoted from the contractor. But I will tell you that quote ends up being more than what you're quoted. And this is where people get themselves into trouble. They don't take into account the possibility of things going awry. Look, when you start opening up walls, there are things that are going on behind them that could cost you more money. Say if there's an electrical issue, a wiring issue, plumbing, what have you. You always need to budget for more when you're doing renovations. So what I recommend is if you can live with the bathrooms and the kitchens, then live with them. Live with them for a few years. Make sure you have enough money saved to handle those renovation costs. Those big ticket items that need repairs, the roof, the HVAC, water heater, all the things. When you have your home inspection done, ask the home inspector, like, how much life do you think is left in the central air unit? The water heater should have a sticker on it saying when it was installed. That tells you right there what the age of it is. Ask the inspector what they think is the lifespan on those items. And if they're not sure, especially with the roof, get a licensed roofer in there to look at the house and give their evaluation. because if has maybe 5 to 7 years left, you might be okay. You can start saving money to replace that roof. If the roof was recently replaced, you need to get from the home seller all the paperwork for that, the warranty on the shingles. You can also go to the town to check the permits to make sure they filed the proper permits to have the roof redone. So with those, again, those big ticket items, get an idea from the home inspector. And if you need further evaluation, bring in a professional to help give you an idea of what to expect, of how long those things are going to last. The last thing, utilities. Now, this is a big problem where renters are coming into a home and they're like, oh my God, my utility bill is like $400 a month. I was paying $100 a month before. This happens a lot. What I recommend, you can ask the home seller to see their utility bills. Get an idea ahead of time. Even if before you make an offer, you can ask them, what are you spending on utilities per month? They're more than happy to share that information with you. That'll give you an idea of what to expect, what you're going to be spending on your utilities each month. So you're not blindsided when you move into the house and you get your first heating bill or electric bill and you've been running the air conditioner all summer and it's like $700 a month. You do not want to be blindsided with that. So again, this information is to help you when it comes to buying a home, to help avoid becoming house poor. So I hope you found this information valuable. And did you know that 90% of home buyers actually regret buying their home? They do. You want to learn more about it? Watch this video right here. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.